but then we go in detail with the fizz part. So the fizz part purposely being pushed off to after break. Because I'm not going to go into things that you're not going to retain, you're not going to remember, so forth, okay? Because you're all in the spring break. Right, where's the wine? No. No, we don't have school next week. It's early this year. So the semester's a week shorter, but you realize that. We only have 14 weeks, not 16 weeks like we had before. When we come back, 7 weeks and it's over. So there's not much left. It's like respiratory lab, GI lab, urinary, reproduction, and done. Those systems are a lot easier to last than the cardiovascular. There's so much involved. So mainly because that was a carrier system to bring everything to these other systems. So hopefully by the end of this lesson you realize how they work together. That's the key. That they all work together. They need one another. Okay, the other system we can be without is the reproductive system. Can't be without the others. Okay, so those other 10 systems are really important. You need them. Can't live without your heart, can't live without your intestines, can't live without this, can't live without the pancreas. So that's what you're going to start seeing. Okay? So if you think any questions, I'll bring it up as we're going. So mainly we're focusing on, so today in lab, right? You guys see lab, not today, but tomorrow. We are lab. Tomorrow, Wednesday. Oh my, this AP1 and AP2 is just killing me. It really is. And I've never been so lost walking into a classroom. What the hell did I do off? It's really like, until you run the courses totally for the year, then they start coming up. Like AP1 now is more under your belt. So you know, it's easy. But AP2 is still developing this damn course as we're going through the semester with the key, and then you're going to do it again for summer. So it's a funny episode, so just bear with me. So mainly we're not going to worry about so much this as we are here, but we'll talk about that a little bit, okay? So this will be more when we get to the GI tract. But for this area, we're focused here on passageway. So there's two areas you can talk about, conducting zone and respiratory zone. Conducting zone is nothing but the pipes bringing air in down to the south part of the lung. When you get to the respiratory zone, you're actually at the alveoli, deep into the alveoli. The hell are they watching next? Much more fascinating than this, I'm sure. Okay, so that's what we're showing here. So first thing, well, I don't care about that. That's kind of what it looks like, gross and disgusting. When we look at it if it was a cadaver. If you had a cadaver, you take the brain out and you cut the head right in half. Because you have to look inside it. So that's a weird thing to do. Take out its brain and stand over the head with a hacksaw and cut your way through, and split the head in half so you can see the insides. We use models. So you're not going to cut a head in half unless it's a student you can't stand. Maybe we'll take a vote. Okay, first thing we'll talk about is pharynx. The pharynx is a passage. And it's going to pass through three areas: nasal, the oral, and the laryngeal. And it finally gets into the trachea. So it's going to get its way there. So that region, from what they call, this is known as the nares. The posterior nares to the bottom of the soft palate, that is known as the nasal pharynx. And you'll see these on the models. And then when you go from soft palate to hyoid bone, that's known as oral pharynx. And when we go from hyoid bone to the top of trachea or esophagus, that's the laryngeal pharynx, your larynx. Okay? You got that? It's just boundaries. That's all it is. And it's just a passageway. Pharynx is just a passageway to move the air through. And one thing you're going to realize, you can't take a deep breath and swallow water at the same time. So the student wants extra points, they can try the experiment. So we have our friend that revive you, and he's bring water into your lung and revive you. So we can do it because we have him in the back room today. So actually do the experiment and watch you roll around on the ground, gas, and blow water out of your lung. Now, this picture's a little more, so you'll be looking at a half a head from the inside, and then when we get into the GI tract, we do it from the outside and learn all the muscles around the outside of the head, chewing, ankles, so the muscles are, and we will talk about them here, the muscles of mastication, we move forward in so you have them. Okay. And they're listed for you, so don't get all stressed out. All right, so let's start in this nasal cavity first. First of all, my nasal cavity, let's do our boundaries. So what two bones will create my nasal septum? We know this higher than cartilage in front, but what two key bones form the septum itself? The vomer and the perpendicular plate of ethmoid. See, so that shit was done, it's back. Baby, it's back, okay? It's back to hound you like a haunt. So again, perpendicular plate of ethmoid and the bone. That will make it, okay? And of course the maxillary forms alongside. So we know that. Okay, so now we are going to also learn we have these ridges built into this thing called conchae. Superior, middle, and inferior conchae. And when we coat it with tissue, then it becomes meatal folds, or meatal, or what they call the tubules when they look up inside your nose. And meatal folds, but the bony ridge is known as a conchae. And we put skin around it. Why do we do that? Why do we keep it a nice smooth surface like that? Oh, why do we? Why would we do it this way? What's that do? And increases, well, we're not there yet. You can't go to a movie where he's going to tell you the end of the movie. Oh, don't worry about him, he doesn't die, he goes. All right. So now why do we do that? What's it doing to the magic word called surfacing? Increase. I didn't realize everything in physiology is surface area and tension's pushing it across. Fusion or osmosis. That's all it is. That's all this whole freaking course is. That's it. By doing certain things, you make turbulence because you create increased surface area. You make turbulence what you want to do. So there you go. So that's why we have it. Now, the top part here, from the superior conchae to the roof of the pharynx, this region here, would be lined with olfactory mucosa. Olfactory mucosa. What does that do? It has things in it for what? What does the olfactory nerve do? Smell. The sense of smell. So smell only takes place in this region here. Not all of it, just there. The nerve fibers are here. Remember how the olfactory nerve comes through the cribriform plate, and that's how it gets through the innervate? Yeah? Yes? Yes, thank you. Let me know you're alive, okay? Don't like me be the only one talking, because it's boring me just talking. Interact with me. Unlike 1070, they can't interact with them, what you're saying when you talk to them. They just sit there like, and one had me for a memory, she's blowing my mind. She shouldn't know this stuff. Why she's in there, I don't know. But then from this point down, so the middle, inferior, and the top of like the palate area is lined what they call respiratory mucosa. Respiratory mucosa. Now the function of that, it's going to secrete mucus. It's going to have a lot of blood supply in it. And it's like she was saying, the function of that now is to filter, warm, and moisten the air. So it's going to filter it, moisten it, and warm it. So you should breathe through your nose and not your mouth. And that's how you make boogies. As they dry out, there's a booger. Right? So the boogers just dry mucus and dirt and whatever else went up in the nose. Like that. She just blew it out. Like sneezing, coughing, hiccups, yawning, eye indirect ways of you breathing. Sure. It's just another way to get air and out of the lung. Other than to bring air. So they don't know what it is. So, assumptions. I hear them. How are you gonna know that? You're not going to, because the EKG won't be accurate because you moved. So you know what I'm saying? So who the hell knows if you skip a beat? But what the guy goes by, you skip a beat, right? So you get PVCs. Oops. Okay. So we kind of talked about those. So we talked about these conching. We talked about two types of mucosa. So we're going to add on to it. We're talking about how we frame this underneath. And there's also hyaline cartilage in the front part, correct? So in the shield in the front would be the nasal bone over here, right? We remember that stuff. All maxillary and nasal bone. So we're good. We're in good shape. Okay. Now as we go on, what's this thing? The pharyngeal-tympanic tube, also is known as eustachian tube. Or the tube. What's that connect? What to what?
It connects your ear or your throat.
Right.
So it
Equalize and also visualize pressure, like on a plane. So you hear pop. That's that. And when kids keep getting chronic ear infections, what do? They put pharyngeal-tympanic tubes in there, and that opens it up. So you drain that air out. So it's important. Keep an equal amount of pressure taking place in there. Okay? Notice you've got some sinuses here. Sphenoid, frontal. Which ones are missing? Which you can't see. What? And maxillary. Those are your remember the four sinuses? You kind of got to remember them again. You kind of go with this. Why do we have them? Maybe it doesn't feel doctor's rich. Makes the skull lighter. You never weigh a ton. If it was one solid mass, it would be like this one. Push it out. Fall. So it lightens the skull without weakening it. So in theory, there should be nothing in there but air, not mucus, not full of stuff. It should be empty. Okay? Not the cranial sinus, that sinus. Nobody got that? Such mean stuff. What else do we have here that we see? This. The pharyngeal tonsil. Tonsil, we already know what that is. That's part of what? The lymphatic system or immune system, right? And you have T lymphocytes which store in there. That one there is known as your adenoids. So when they do an adenoidectomy, that's the tonsil they take out. The pharyngeal. That makes a good test question. Yes.
How come tonsils are sometimes like bad for you? Like
They're mad for you?
how come like sometimes
I like this question.
they catch more infection rather than they do?
Well, that's their job. But the problem with them is something like strep can become normal flora. And then it becomes a chronic strep issue. And that can cause damage to your heart and kidneys later in life. So in that case, they should come out. But they're not yanking them out. When mine did, they yanked them out. They just boom, right in the doctor's office. They did them out. One of them dried up 3-4 years old to the east side that day. My mother went out lying to you, thinking, put on the operating table, taking my time. My older sister was done right on the dining room table with my grandmother's house. By the primary doctor. Primary care doctors did all that years ago. They took tonsils out, they did everything. Today they do nothing. All they do is, I can't handle it, send you away. They did minor surgeries in their office, they made stuff, they sutured stuff. They don't do any of that anymore. So I don't know how their training is like. I know it's nothing like what they show on TV, it's a bunch of crap, but that's beside the point. But yeah, so that's tonsillar tissue, which is like a lymph node you kind of can see. it's lymphoid tissue. But they can become that they hold bacteria there too long, and that can cause an issue, such as strep, beta hemolytic strep. It's bad. Okay, so there you go. So when they do an adenoidectomy, one tonsil would be removed. They miss the tonsils. This one, pharyngeal. Okay. Then we come down this way. Now we're in the oral cavity. Might as well, we're inside there. The oral cavity has a big thing they call the tongue. We'll talk about that by itself in a minute, the tongue. And we also can see we have a soft palate and a hard palate. What two bones form the hard palate? One has palate right in its name. Palatine and maxillary. So you thought that was it last semester. Don't bother with this crap again. All right. Notice we have tonsil tissue there called palatine. And we have another one behind the tongue called lingual. And there's really one here that they don't show called tubule tonsil. That lines. So when you look at this area here, you have a whole barrier of defense keeping anything from getting past these points down into your lungs. So when they take the tonsil out, it increases your likelihood of bronchitis tenfold over still having it. So bronchitis is not as common in people with tonsils, because if I start with like a sore throat, next day full bronchitis, there's no tonsil. They took adenoids out, everything, boom. You know, so that was the thing back in the early 60s. We were taking it all out. Right? Issues. And they started realizing, well, they were there for a reason. You know, out of your immune system. So medicine changes every single decade. You're going to see that as you go on and learn. The way you're going to learn something in your nursing career, 10 years from now, you won't do it that way anymore. There'll be another way of doing it, more efficient. Okay? So they don't touch it. It's why sometimes with a sore throat, it hurts behind your tongue, because that's swollen. You understand why? So years ago, not only would they hit you with antibiotics, you'd gargle with salt and water, or paint the tonsils with a strong astringent solution that's going to shrivel it up, and it'll shrivel it. So, because you get what they call kissing tonsils. They're so big, they touch one another like two meatballs, and you can't even breathe. So that's what you have. So if you made salt water gargling 2-3 times a day, you would shrink them. Yeah, I know, but until you get them out, it would help you. Or you get the swab, and salt water like as thick as it can be, paint right on it, so they gag the shit out of you. Blood will shrivel. And years ago, they literally made milk it, they would put a glove on and grab the tonsils and just squeeze it. And that would drain it all out. And then you rinse with salt out. So that was other ways they treated primary care doctors, other than just put you on antibiotic, they would treat it that way. Yes.
Okay, so this girl I worked with was showing me a picture of her daughter, and she had these hard things inside.
Yeah, they calcify.
Yeah. Cool.
They can calcify because the infection, the tissue damage is so hard it calcifies.
Okay.
You can pop them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's easy just to remove them, take the whole damn. Usually the rule of thumb is 6 infections within the year, they should come out. That's the rule they use, the ENTs, that's their rule. 6 and out they come. You know, they'll go in and remove that, they'll look at those, see if those should come out too. Depending on how much sinus infection, you know, chronic strep issues, take them out. So there you go. So we have that. Then we have another thing that hangs down. Now the soft palate's all muscle, primarily style pharyngeal. If you go to the question. So pharyngeal. Raise the palate. Number 9. Okay, so the uvula, the punching bag. What's the uvula do? Well, for the Tom and Jerry cartoons, right? Tom meets Jerry, he's in there, he likes a match. He really gets all red, and he jumps out, or he punches it, right? So why do we have a uvula? Some. Here's the gag reflex one. Yes. So what happens when you swallow, this should push back and close off the nasal so the water will go up into your nose. But that doesn't work that way. That makes you laugh when you're drinking. It's spray out your nose and everything. Never had that problem? So when you take a sip, tell the truth. See what happens. No one's ever had that problem? Yeah, and nose everything. Especially with alcohol, that burns the shit out of your nose and everything coming out. They made you laugh. It's fun to do to somebody. Yeah. I always do that. People start getting drunk, I tell something funny while they're drinking. They spray it all over the table, everything, they're drunk, they don't realize. But that's its function. And also, you know, the gag reflex is responsible, 9 and 10 combined is your gag reflex, so it's both, okay? And teeth. How many teeth do we have in the adult? How many in the child? Well, less than 32, right. That's the correct answer, 20. So 20 in the child, 32 in the adult, okay? So now we go on and we see, well, muscles of mastication. What muscles are involved for the jaw to chew? Well, there they are, the temporalis, the masseter, and the medial lateral pterygoid. And how you spell it right? You say pterygoid. Pterygoid, you spell it right, because it's a P, that's silent. And notice the digastric is innervated by 2. So the front half is all trigeminal. But trigeminal is the one for sensation to your face. But that's the motor division. For chewing. The muscles of mastication. Okay? And the posterior one is innervated by 7. So that's the nerve that's the, so temporalis, the masseter. This is the primary jaw close, the masseter. Big muscle, slam it shut. The pterygoids are the ones that are more the pain in the ass when people suffer with temporomandibular dysfunction. The TMJ. Because that's the one that can deviate it side to side because you got a medial and a lateral. And those literally, you can go in someone's mouth, push on them, and they literally have trigger points, like any other muscle. So you can help a lot by going in and strip those muscles down, and then grab the jaw, manipulate it, to realign it, and then put them in a mouth guard for a dentist. So these guys work with a lot of dentists, realign the jaw, and then they would keep them in the mouth guard, so you stop that. So, and it makes the main thing because of this clenching during the night in the sleep, grinding your teeth. And you really don't even know if you're doing it until you wake up with like, you know, headache here, headache in here. So there's a lot that relates to it. Okay, so because you're cramping so much. These are the primary openings, the digastrics. If it's not them, it'd be gravity. The mouth just stays open because of gravity. Pulling it down, but this also is the primary opening. Jesus.
Do you have any remedies for cough?
Yeah. Whiskey and honey.
I'm gonna
Lemon, honey,
cough my
and a little bit of
throat.
whiskey, because the whiskey numbs up the brain centers, and the honey will soothe your throat. You gotta kind of suck cough drops all day long while you cough. You got no choice. All right, then we go to the muscles of the tongue: genioglossus, hyoglossus, styloglossus. Kind of named by how they hook the moving. Genioglossus protrudes and depresses the tongue, because that hooks off the anterior, inferior aspect inside your mandible and pulls the tongue down and out. The hyoglossus hooks to the hyoid bone and can depress it side to side. The styloglossus comes off the styloid process and will elevate and pull it back in your mouth. And they're all innervated by number 12, hypoglossum. Some stuff you already know. So which one is pain to the tongue? Like 5. And which one is taste anterior 2/3? 7. Taste posterior 1/3? 9. So the tongue has 4 cranial nerves controlling. So it's kind of important. You can't swallow it up, because it takes the food and pushes it up and pushes it back. Okay, so it's an important structure. So there you go. There's your tongue. Strongest muscle in the body, that's according to that show. Alex Trebek. That was a question, what is the strongest muscle in the body? The tongue. Well, if they say it, it must be. Well, I don't know, how many people can stand up with their, huh? It's a brain teaser. How many people can stand up there? Not that I know. Just bust. What muscles in the body really don't fatigue? Well, I'm talking skeletal eye muscles. They move all the time. Right? The 6 muscles that control your eyes. They constantly move. And that skeletal, the diaphragm, that skeletal muscle doesn't get tired because it's more under the autonomic control. But, oh well, enough. And then we start working our way down, so we've done the oral pharynx, nasopharynx, now we're down in the throat, and you see we have the hyoid bone. So what is the function of this hyoid bone? Well, one, if we go back, it's stabilizing my tongue, right? And if we go back to here, it's helping to open the mouth because these things will hook to the hyoid. The anterior digastric comes off hyoid this way to the mandible. Posterior comes off the back of the skull to the hyoid. And what it's going to do, the posterior will lock the hyoid in place, and then the anterior will pull the jaw open. So to open my mouth, move my tongue, and what else? Well, swallow. It's going to raise the glottis to the epiglottis. So it has 3 key functions now. And you can see the side of move, restraint, refraction, hyoid. So it's a true stabilizing bone. But it's the only bone that has no true function for like movement like a joint and stuff. But neither do the what? What would be the smallest bone in the body besides testicles and nerves? The ones in the ear, right? Easily in the stapes, right? There you go. Those don't have any other function other than to vibrate and hit the round oval window and shake it, move the end of the window so you can hear. That's all they do. So your Adam's apple then is not the hyoid bone. The Adam's apple is your thyroid. The laryngeal prominence which sits on the thyroid cartilage. And the thyroid cartilage, we're going to see when we get in here, is like a big protector to protect all those delicate structures inside. But it also is different male to female. It's more pronounced on a male than a female. So, for guys, if your girlfriend has a big Adam's apple, you'll be surprised later in life when you get to the next phase. When you get to second or third base, I don't know what the hell the base is called. Oh, I know we had that too.
Please don't make jokes about trans.
I'm not making fun about it. But the point is, if you do transgender change, it will thicken the rock. Yeah. That's why it's more pronounced in a male than a female, because of estrogen hormone. So, to get rid of it, in a true transgender, they take hormone. And it gets rid of it. You can shake,
True transgender.
you know. So, well, I'm using the definition when you go through the whole change sexually with operation, not that you haven't done the sex change. Because I've had issues when you bury someone that's that way, what do you put on the death certificate? So, believe it or not, there are legal ramifications.
You know.
That's what I'm getting at. And we had a person that passed, some back years ago, beautiful looking female, but wasn't done with she was going through the transgender to have the surgery, didn't have it done yet. So when we got down to the lower part of the body, to the mom, she still had a penis, but the testes were kind of gone. So we had to call the health department. Who do we put on the death certificate? And they told us, as long that you can't find testes, you can bury her as a female. So we were able to bury her as a female. Because she was using her name, she changed her name legally and everything. And so in that case, we were able to bury her as a female versus a male. So the thing is, legally, in health, you will cross issues. Usually you're going to do what the patient wants. If you follow what I'm saying. Because people don't realize it's not just X and Y. And we'll talk about this when we get into reproduction. There's 34 variations of X and Y that have been genetically proven. So what does that mean? It's not as simple as male and females. We try to make it.
How common is it for someone to be born with both sexes?
Not that uncommon. So transvestite is very not uncommon to have both hormones running in you. You don't have to even, you can look male but have more female hormone in you, or look female and have more male hormone in you, because you do have one organ secreting as if it was a testes or an ovary. So that would play a big role, okay? So serious on a serious note, it does. But we'll see that when we get to the actual reproductive structures. So there is a, and it was proven by a professor out of the University of Michigan, I believe. He proved the genetic variation between X and Y. So it's not as simple as we say, boy or girl. It happens a lot, and that's bad, because years ago they would do the surgeries on a person when they were young and screw them all up. Now they wait. Well, they don't do it anymore that way, and you should let the child make the decision when they get old enough to decide, where do I fit in myself? Because it's a big emotional thing. And it's real. It's not a dream, it's real. It's been proven genetically to be real. So just keep that in the back of your head. The issue is treating is because male and female don't show disease the same, especially cardiac, as we just got off. The biggest symptom a female will suffer with cardiac disease may just be fatigue and a cough. And, no, but you get what I'm saying? And she might have cardiac issue. Volume of blood is there. You saw that. Volume of blood is not the same between the two. So there's differences. So keep that in the back of your mind. But you can palpate all this out. And you can see you're juggling a notch. And right here behind it, there's no protection. So this delicate structure is exposed and damaged very easily. Choke or stab someone, or you fall on something that sticks into your throat, it can go right through your airway, which would be your trachea. It's not good. Okay? So now when we look at it, now when you go in lab, the big blue model looks just like this. It'll look just like it. And you're going to see a bronchial tree, the lungs are plastic. And they're all right lungs. And sometime on the proctor we'll ask you, what lung is this, right or left? And we don't have any lefts. So it's kind of like, it's like a gift question. But sometimes there's a lot of gift questions, people, you don't realize it. You just get so stinking nervous and you don't you look too much. Okay? So here it is. So we have the hyoid and we have the thyroid. Now the thyroid, the term thyroid means door or shield. And it is. It's going to protect the vocal cords on the inside. That's why it's there. Then we have the one underneath it called, it's actually called the oid family. They're all oid. That one's a cousin because it's bone, but everything else is cartilage. And the cricoid cartilage is the only one that makes a total ring structure. None of the others make a total ring. And what's going to happen, this is going to be a support base to anchor the thyroid cartilage. But it makes a total ring, so that's a support structure, and that's going to sit on top of the trachea. So it's a total ring structure. So that's why it's so important. It's support. Without that, nothing would be able to anchor. Now, and then of course we got the epiglottis, which is that made of hyaline cartilage. They shouldn't be the same color because it's not made of the same cartilage. Made of elastic cartilage. Remember the two areas divided of elastic cartilage from last semester with that and your ears. So it's different. So it means it's very flexible. And this pulls up to that. And if you don't let me find your Adam's apple and swallow it, which way to go? Up. Shouldn't go to the side, should go up. If it's going to the side, you've got an issue going on. Something's moving it. Now, let's go on the inside of it. So from the lateral view, we can see this other one called the arachnoid cartilage right here. Now the arachnoid cartilage, notice it has a muscle hook to it, the arachnoid muscle. They move, they rotate. And what they're going to do is tense and loosen the vocal. So they constantly move it every time you talk. So every time you cough, you clear your throat, you damage the vocal cord. They're very delicate structures. Because when you cough, you get a force of about 150 mile an hour wind blowing over you. Right? That's why they get so irritated you can't talk out, because you irritate them very easy. And they're overused, you get polyps like singers do. Yes.
So in a singer, would that be a more mature muscle because you use it often? Does it function the same way as like a bicep or like a tricep?
No, it's going to function different. Right. In another one, that's not really going to fatigue out. Right? So there you go. So there you have it. So this, most of this is all innovated by 10. Remember 10 was most of the innovation at this point in now this far. So those preproximal nerve, it has a lot of sensory and motor function to it, controlling this stuff. All right? So there you go. So you can see this one would make the total ring structure. So to understand each one, so the arachnoid is to work with my vocal cords. The thyroid is the shield protecting all of it. And the cricoid is the total ring. So you get asked, which cartilage makes the total ring structure? It's the cricoid. So where do we go next? Yeah, don't forget that. The trachea. So we do this cross section of a trachea. Notice looking at it, it's made of these, if you put it on the side, like a C-shaped hyaline cartilaginous rings. And the whole system in this area, right down into your lungs, is made of hyaline cartilage. Why do we make it this rigid structure instead of like smooth muscle where it can constrict and dilate? It will collapse when you would exhale. And it keeps its shape. It's to maintain the structure. That's why it's made of this. Another thing looking at it, why don't we make a total ring structure? She's using hers a lot today. Yeah, exactly. Well, not the trachea expand. Esophagus sits right behind it. So think if this was a ring structure. Say if the ring went like this. What would happen when you swallow food? It would get stuck. All right? So it gives the ability for the esophagus to expand into it. This is why you can't swallow and breathe at the same time. Only one passageway. Unfortunately, the way we're designed, it's a flaw. You shouldn't be swallowing and breathing to the same point, because if you choke, you're done. you literally can die. So it's a bad design. It's not a great design like we think. It's not. Then we have the trachealis muscle. And and let's just expand this way. What was another function you're doing? You're using hers right now. See, coughing. Well, that's good, but it clears the airway. And that can put a force of over 120 mile an hour wind blowing out of your cough. And we're talking about speed thing, we're coughing on it. So you can see why you can blow a virus all over the place with each cough. Understand? Because it doesn't just go like here. It goes poof. All right, so it's something that spreads from droplets. Not only that the person can breathe it in, not so much that, it gets on formally. And the biggest way of spreading any of these type of viruses is you touch this and you touch your face. And once you've done that, you're going to make yourself sick. So what's the health department telling you? Wash your hands frequently and don't touch your face. The mask is like, unless you're working in healthcare, right or wrong, it depends on the mask. Not all of them want to block it. Only certain types will that used in healthcare work. And they have to be fitted right, or they don't work. Notice what we line it with. What are these little hair things? Cilia. So what would this be then? Right? Tissue. So those stratified columna, epithelium. And what does the cilia do? It what? Moves things out. What happens when you smoke? Cigarettes. Tar and damage. You burn them and you line them with tar. So that leaves you prone to what? Right, infection, germs, callus formation, adenoma, cancer. There's your link. Now, when they talk about regeneration, that's what regenerates people, not the alveoli, which we're going to see when we get down that deep. That. Okay? All right. So, that's what it would look like on the electron microscope. There's cilia in the trachea. Looks like a dust rag or something, right? Like you would brush with your or they don't use those anymore. Feather duster. Okay, so let's look at the lung, not the lung, but the tree. So we look at our bronchial tree. So the length of a trachea is from C6 to T4. C6 to T4. That's its length on average, okay? Because we know it bifurcates at sternal angle, and that's T4. So that sternal angle was only good for just listening to the heart. I actually can hear my primary bronchi here. And the last tracheal segment is known as the carina. Carina. That's the last tracheal. It looks like a pair of underpants. That's how you remember where it is. Okay? It's like, does it not? Okay, so these are nice and round. And even behind these, you're going to see when you look in lab, they're not totally solid. Behind it, there's still muscle that goes all the way down. So it's just a piping system known as conducting zone. That's all this is. And we branch then into the primary bronchi, or lobar. Not lobar, right? Yeah, main rather, main, not lobar. Main, or main. So we go main or primary. Meaning you're going to get a right and left, one on each side. Do they look identical to you looking up there? Okay, how would you describe the left? Anatomically, how would you describe it? So it's what?
2 lobes.
No, not the lung. I'm talking about the primary bronchi.
If you look, it angles to the right, so it kind of mirrors the angle of the heart. Whereas if you look at the left lobar, kind of angles along with the same
So
curvature
this
of
one
the
is
heart
like-
would be, whereas the right lobar kind of goes straight down along where like the
Okay.
right atrium and ventricle would be, so it kind of mirrors the shape of the heart.
So let's
So
say
it's- It's like a puzzle
You're not
piece.
wrong, you're saying it too hard.
It's like a puzzle
Do you
piece.
want to write all that down? Or would you rather write this? So you're going to listen to what I'm going to say. Okay? So if I look at that left, I would say it's longer, narrower, and more horizontal.
It looks like more, it's
What?
longer.
Longer,
Narrower.
narrower, more horizontal. If I look at the right, shorter, wider, more vertical. So when you read in your book about this, they say, well, because of that setup, more stuff goes into the right lung than the left. Clinically, not really. Bronchitis is about 50/50. So in theory, you should fall easier into the right lung than the left. But not really, they're both up for grabs when it comes to treating infection. So does that make sense? See, that one's more like straight, this one's more up and down. So when you're looking at it in lab this week, pay attention to that. Because you'll have the bronchi, the whole tree without the lung with it, so it makes sense when you look at it, okay? Then we go into, now, what you were saying, she was saying that, when you look at it anatomically, was we get to the secondary, or lobar, they go into the lobe, so on the left we have 2, on the right we have 3. And when you did the damn cat has 4 on the right and 3 on the left. So human-wise, it has 1 more than us. So I don't have to worry about that because we're not dealing with cat. But, so that means we have lobes-wise in the lung, which we'll talk about when we get to the lungs, 2 on the left, 3 on the right. Okay? Remember when she dissected them out? On the cardiac video, she showed that to you. Alright, so you're experts in it. And the blood looks like a real mess now. After being in how it's like dry beef. So you don't want to eat it. So much for that. So now, from there, we're going to go into segmental or tertiary. So in other words, you can use either term, primary, secondary, tertiary, or main, lobar, segmental. Because then you go down to the segments. So this is the final phase before you finally get to where the respiratory zones are. So this is made out of all cartilaginous material. Okay? So now you know that. You can see it. And it's lined all the way in with cilia and stuff, because you get this mucous membrane that's moistening the cere, grabbing stuff that don't belong there, and then we push it out. The guy gets rid of it on its own eventually. Okay? Now, so we look at this, it kind of looks like a bunch of grapes. Now we're finally at the respiratory zone. When we get down into the terminal bronchioles, this is where constriction and dilation takes place. So you can see they're not really this cartilaginous material, they're connective tissue, but not cartilage anymore, and a lot of smooth muscle. So you have bronchial asthma, this is what's being affected. They constrict. An allergen comes in and irritates it and constricts it. So the meds used is to keep it away, so it keeps the eosinophils out there, and you shouldn't react, and that's how the inhalers work. Unless they're just pure albuterol, which is just 20 milligrams of epi, primarily what it is that you're taking in. So why do we make it all these grape structures? Why don't I just have one big alveoli inside? All right, well, surface area is 1. And what if I damage it? Right. Same thing when we get to the kidney, the same thing with the nephrons. It's like, well, what if I just had one big one on the side? Would it do? Yeah, it probably could do the job, but what if I damaged it? I'm screwed. If I had one big alveoli and I damage it because I smoke cigarettes or work around toxins that I'm inhaling all the time, or asbestos, well, there you go. So we make it, and notice the blood supply around it. So which one's what? So this red one's the artery and that's the vein? No. What?
One almost works different. You're right.
I didn't say anything. I just said, I'm asking you. So I'm not right or wrong. I figure you're experts now.
Is the other way
So what are you trying to say?
The blue is the orange.
Exactly, because that's bringing in the deoxygenated blood, lower carbon dioxide, and that's bringing out the oxygen now back to the body. And carbon dioxide absorbs better into water than oxygen, believe it or not. So that's why we have this moist environment there, which we're going to see when we get into the exchange stuff, to make the exchange work more efficient. All right, so now you saw that. Yay. And then there it is showing it right there how it happens. Right? Oxygen goes back to the red blood cells, CO2 comes down. We'll go into detail with this when we get into the physiology. You got to realize you got two types of alveoli. Type 1 is the wall. Type 2 secretes a product called surfactant. What do we mean by that? That's what we mean. Type 1 lines the wall for gas exchange. Type 2 secretes a product called surfactant to maintain the shape of the alveoli, maintains tissue resistance. Without it, the alveoli just collapse, and there's no resistance. So, acute respiratory distress syndrome in the adult is a death sentence, usually. Because somehow, whatever got into you destroyed these. In a baby, fetal respiratory distress is common when they're born before 8 months. Around the 8-month mark is when the lung develops. The lung is there, but the surfactant hasn't. So by using a mist surfactant and strong barometric pressures into below the lungs, usually the baby will be fine. But to do that to an adult, it doesn't work. Surfactant, for some reason, once you lose it, it's gone. The only thing that would work is a lung transplant. That's how bad it can be. Okay? But we'll go into more detail. I just want to get these names out there to you right now. And then from there, we get into the lung itself. And what I'm going to do is stop here. So that's it for lecture until we come back from break. Next time I see you guys, I'm doing a giant quiz. I have a question for you. Almost, yes, make sure you have